This episode contains adult themes and is not appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. I'm Sadie Eck.
And I'm Courtney Eck.
And it's Courtney's night.
Yeah, it is. Yes, in fact it is. And tonight, I hope you all love cannibals. Because tonight is Joe Metheny, the cannibal killer.
I don't love cannibals.
Too bad. Here we go.
All right, let's do it.
So Joe Metheny was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1955 and had 5 siblings. His father, and I will say, this is one of those cases, I don't know. I have no idea why there isn't more information about this guy, and I did the deepest damn dive trying to find more, and there's just such limited amounts of information. I think mostly because his victims were sex workers and homeless people, so you know how that goes. But it's just too crazy of a case to not cover. It's like a fucking Michael Haneke movie or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, I understand. I always think it's so strange when people are like, and then he got convicted. I'm like, no, but what about him?
What about his victims? What about him? Anyway. So Joseph Metheny was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1955 and had 5 siblings. His father worked as a laborer and, like too many fathers of the time, was an alcoholic. He tended to be on the aggressive side and unfortunately died in a car accident when Joe was only 6 years old. This left his mother to take care of the 6 siblings on her own, so she was forced to take 3 jobs as a bartender, waitress, and food truck driver. According to Joe, his mother was never around as a result, so he spent most of his time bouncing between the homes of family and friends of his mother's, and he said he had a truly awful childhood. His mother, Jean, however, denies this completely and says she worked hard enough to provide for all of her kids and didn't rely on anyone's help to take care of them. Jean also recalls that Joe was a loving, happy child and a great student who loved to ride his bike and hang out with all types of people. I'm sure the actual truth of his childhood lies somewhere in the middle. And I'm leaning more toward Joe's recollection of things. I don't know, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's hard. I can imagine it'd be hard for mom to be like, yeah, I totally fucked up.
Well, and she had no choice. She worked 3 jobs, and maybe somehow she did earn enough money for all the kids, but she still couldn't have been home. There's no physical way you can be home if you work 3 jobs, so... Regardless, Joe doesn't have a good recollection. Jean says he was just fine. In 1973, Joseph turned 18 years old and joined the army. He spent a stretch of time in Germany and then was sent to fight in the Vietnam War, which we all know how that experience treated people. Much like his childhood, his mother, Jean, didn't speak to Joe at all during this time, and she said she doesn't actually believe he got sent to the Vietnam War, which is a very strange lapse between mother and son.
Wow.
Yeah, she said just over 10 years he drifted away, and she's like, I don't really believe that he went to the Vietnam War.
That's strange.
And there's
like
no record.
Confirm it. Weird.
Right, but there's no record of whether or not he was sent to the Vietnam War. He was in the army, but whether or not he went to war. Anyway. Very unfortunately, while Joe was at war, he developed an addiction to heroin.
Oh, God.
It's unclear whether he was administered heroin as a painkiller, I guess, which was sort of common at the time, or if he sought it out to cope with the atrocities of war, but he came home a full-blown heroin addict.
Bummer.
Yeah. He also started drinking heavily and got in trouble with the law for disorderly conduct. He got into frequent fights in bars, and considering that he was over 6 feet tall and over 400 pounds, the first reaction was to call the cops on him, so he was arrested on several occasions.
Wow.
He was
dude.
Massive. And he looks like a Rob Zombie character from a movie.
Wow.
I mean, humongous and bald and terrifying.
Oh, God.
Really looks like a cartoon character or like a horror movie character. During this time, Joe met and married a woman who was also addicted to drugs, so the two fueled each other's addictions even more and eventually had a son together. So in 1994, Joe's son was 6 years old, and Joe was away from his family for long periods of time as a truck driver. One day he came home after a stretch away to find his home completely empty of all belongings, and his wife and son missing, and to say Joe was mad is the understatement of the century.
Oh, no.
Quote, "My old lady had taken everything, including my son, and left me. Her leaving was not my problem, but she took my 6-year-old son with her. She was a crack addict and a worthless piece of shit. I would have paid her to get out of my life. All she had to do was take my son over to my mother's house, and she could have had everything else and be gone." So Joe decided he wanted revenge on his wife for taking his son away from him, so what did he do? He decided to go on a rampage and rape and kill innocent people on a quest to track down his family and get his son back.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what you do.
It's the fastest way to get your family back together.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Joe said he learned 6 months later that his wife had left him for another drug addict who forced her into sex work to support their habits. The couple had lost custody of the son after getting busted for drugs and being found abusive and neglectful, but instead of going to social services to be reunited with the boy and moving on with his life, Joe decided to hunt the couple down on his own.
Oh, no.
He claimed he didn't think they would give him custody due to his criminal past, but I'm pretty sure it takes more than some barroom brawls to keep a child from their parent.
Yes.
So, methinks that maybe Joe's motivation wasn't to get his son back after all.
I think you're a good detective.
At any rate, Joe heard through the drug addict grapevine that his wife and her boyfriend were living under a bridge in South Baltimore, so he went down there to find them and kill them.
God.
Once he got to the bridge, he didn't find his wife and her boyfriend, but instead found 2 known addicts named Randy Piker and Randall Brewer lying on a mattress, passed out from drug use. Joe asked the 2 if they'd seen his wife or her boyfriend, and they didn't have any helpful information to share. So instead of walking away and continuing on his search, Joe became enraged because he was convinced that they had done drugs with his wife in the past. So he murdered them both with an axe, dismembered their bodies, and then left.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. This guy needs to take some fucking conflict resolution courses or something.
Yeah. Nonviolent communication.
Exactly. I feel like I want to murder you with an axe because I don't know how to cope with anything whatsoever, and I'm using my wife's betrayal as an excuse
to
to
do what I want.
Play out my homicidal tendencies. Yeah. Later that night, the same night, he returned to the bridge where he encountered a woman who he lured under the bridge with the promise of smoking crack cocaine, which they did while he interrogated her about his wife's whereabouts. I do not know who this woman is. There's no information about who she is, what her name is, or anything, unfortunately. Once again, the woman didn't know anything about where his wife could be, so, quote, "I beat the hell out of her and raped her ass, then killed her.
Ugh.
I put her in some bushes and went and lured the second BITCH down there."
Jesus.
So a couple of hours later, same day, he lured yet another woman below the bridge, got her high, and raped and killed her when she wasn't helpful in finding his wife.
So 4 people total in the same day.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Then get this.
I don't want to.
As he was trying to dispose her body in the bushes with his other victim, he noticed a man fishing nearby, and the man happened to turn and see him. I swear to God. As he dragged his victim to her dump site, so he grabbed a steel pipe that was laying nearby, beat him to death with it, and weighed all 3 victims down in the river with rocks.
Courtney.
Quote, "That was a very busy night for me. 5 murders within about 7 hours.
I am speechless.
Yeah. Have you ever in your life heard anything like it?
No. That's like, no.
No.
No,
That is
this is a spree killer, like mass murderer. It's not serial killing at that point, right?
No, yeah, that's a mass murder.
Jeez,
It's a fucking massacre, a bridge massacre. Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if they didn't find those bodies. I don't know if those 3 people were never identified. Also never identified, but I mean, there is 0% information about those 3 poor people.
So not necessarily were these murders confirmed? Like, could he just be telling a fucking terrible story?
Randall and Randy were confirmed, and we'll get to
Okay.
that. Yes,
Okay.
but the 2 women and the fisherman, they were not confirmed. So 2.5 weeks later, Joe was arrested for the murder of Randy and Randall. So they did find them and tied them back to him.
Good.
And he spent 18 months in jail awaiting his day in court, only to have the case thrown out for lack of evidence after a week at trial.
Stop it.
He's back out.
No,
Killed
he isn't.
5 people within 7 hours, chopped 2 of them up with axes, and he's
Jesus
back on the
Christ.
fucking streets. Yes. So once again, Joe was a free man, and time in prison did nothing to slow him down. He talked his old boss into giving him his job back at a pallet factory, and he also convinced him to let him move into a trailer on site in exchange for keeping an eye on the place. The factory was located at the end of a dead-end road and was very isolated, so gave Joe free rein to do whatever he wanted off hours. I mean, doesn't this sound like a fucking, like, really scary Dutch horror film or
No,
something?
it's a total
like
Rob
this-
Zombie movie.
Right?
It's 100% Rob Zombie.
Ginormous, humongous beast of a man
Yes.
on some sort of weird revenge spree, living in a
Yes.
fucking factory.
Yes.
Yeah. He made quick work of luring 39-year-old Kathy Magaziner out to his trailer with the promise of drugs, where he, again, raped, strangled, and dismembered her body. Her body was later found decapitated, and Joe confessed that he dug her body up 6 months after he buried it, removed the skull, and then, quote, washed the maggots out and made love to it.
Oh, God.
His words.
No.
Yes. He also lured Kimberly Lynn Spicer to his trailer after she'd stormed out of her mother's house after having an argument about her drug addiction. She made her way to Joe's trailer to share drugs with him, and he proceeded to rape and stab her to death and then dismember her body.
This guy.
But this time, his motive for murdering 2 women was no longer about finding information about his estranged wife. Not that it ever fucking had been. Very clearly, he didn't really kill people because they didn't know where his wife was.
I mean, no.
That's not a thing that you do.
No.
He had an even more diabolical reason for murdering these 2 innocent women, and after they were killed, he stored their meat in Tupperware containers in the freezer and buried the rest of their remains in several shallow graves in the nearby woods. So, if you think it's bad, it's about to get way fucking worse. So Joe had opened a roadside barbecue pork sandwich stand. Yes.
Please stop.
Sadie, yes. For his fellow pallet factory workers and people passing by on the nearby highway. And he had somehow hatched the diabolical plot to use his victims' meat to supplement his sandwich business.
God. Where
And
are
he does
we again? In the...
Maryland in the 90s.
Oh, Lord, help me.
This wasn't in like the 1300s or something. You know what I mean?
Right, no.
Like-
Yeah, I always think of fried green tomatoes. You know?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, no.
Totally. Yeah. It wasn't in an era of, famine and...
Grinding your own meat.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
God.
It was the fucking 90s near Baltimore, Maryland.
God, this is so awful.
Yes, and he does confess to having tested the meat beforehand,
yeah.
which is either how he got the idea or how he confirmed the idea. And he said, quote, "The human body was very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference."
God.
So Joe carried on for a couple of weeks, making unwilling cannibals out of his customers, and it's reported that his sandwiches were a huge hit and drew people from miles around.
Oh my God, I'm gonna vomit.
He eventually ran out of his, quote, special meat, and so he went in search of his next victim.
No more.
What do you do when you see on the news that the guy down the road where you get your lunch from every day was serving you fucking...
No, you don't.
People.
You just puke. You never eat again. I don't know. I think about the Elise Lamb documentary, and they interviewed the British couple who stayed at the hotel and the water started to taste bad.
Oh, yeah. God. Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Like, how do you never drink another water ever again?
Ugh.
You just stop drinking water.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Because I was so traumatized thinking about having that experience that I put it out of my memory because it's awful.
Yes.
God. So, just like Kathy Magaziner and Kimberly Spicer, Joe lured Rita Kemper out to his trailer with the promise of drugs, and, quote, I got her in there and started to rip her clothes off and knocking the hell out of her.
God.
She was screaming, but there was no one around to hear her except me, and I just kept on laughing at her. I turned around for a split second, and that was my mistake. And I heard that she played dead. I did hear, and the sources, aside from there not being a lot of information on this case, the sources are a fucking mess. So some things I just left out because I couldn't confirm them. The things that are in this account are things that I could confirm somewhat reputably, but I did hear that or read that she played dead and he turned around and then she got up and started running.
Good.
Yes. So I turned around for a split second, and that was my mistake, for she ran out of the door before I could get to her. There was an 8-foot chain-link fence with barbed wire on top of it around the front of the company. There was a stack of wooden pallets next to the fence about 10 feet high. That BITCH scaled those pallets like a monkey and jumped the fence.
Good.
And ran down to the main road where the guy at a pickup truck picked her up and took her to a nearby gas station where they called the fucking cops.
Thank God. It's not a Rob Zombie movie after all, because if it had been, that would have been his terrible brother in the truck.
Good
with
point.
A machete.
Good point.
I'm so glad she got away.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Got out of the fucking scaled the fence over the pallets. The gods were smiling down on Rita Kemper that day.
Thank God.
So he continued, well, I knew the cops were on the way, but I didn't run. I gathered up her clothing, grabbed the keys to the gate, and went out and opened it. Soon as I step out of the gate, a cop car pulled up, and the cop jumped out and pulled his gun on me and told me to get on the ground. And that's where it all came to an end.
Good.
Quote, Rita Kemper alleges that Metheny told her, quote, I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls. Quote, whatever Tiny wanted to do that night, he was going to do, said a tearful and shaking Rita Kemper, calling Metheny by his nickname. Because, of course, his nickname was Tiny.
Ugh.
Quote, he told me I could scream as loud as I wanted to. I knew that he wasn't going to let me out of there alive. I wasn't letting this man take my life from me without a fight.
Good.
And she fought, and she won, and she took down the man who later told police that he'd killed at least 10 people total.
Wow.
So in 1997, the year I graduated from high school, Joe was tried for kidnapping and attempted rape of Rita Kemper and was given 50 years for the crime, but was acquitted for attempted murder.
Damn it. 50 years. That's good. I mean, like...
Yeah. Well, and then he went back to trial. So they found the bodies of the other two women because they caught him and he basically immediately confessed. Yes. And he was like, I felt real sorry for them because I put them in 7 different holes. So they were scampering all around my property.
Oh my God.
Yep. So he went back to trial in 1998 for the murder of Kimberly Lynn Spicer. And at trial he said he, quote, enjoyed it. He, quote, got a rush out of it, got a high out of it, end quote, had no real excuse why, other than I like to do it. Mm-mm. He was sentenced to death for her murder. So that same year, he was given life in prison for the murder of Kathy Magaziner, and in 2000, his death sentence was overturned due to insufficient evidence that Kimberly Spicer was killed during a robbery, and he was given life in prison instead. So apparently, if you kill somebody while you're robbing them, you get death, because that's just enough felonies to get a death penalty. But if robbery is out of the question, you're just killing people to kill people, which should be like the equivalent of 4 felonies,
right?
In my opinion.
Yes.
You don't get death, which is so fucking
strange.
weird. Yeah.
I know that sometimes it's like a bigger sentence if depending on the weapon. Like if you have a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. He was also tried for the murder of Tony Ingracia, a 28-year-old woman whose body was found elsewhere, and I couldn't find a single seemingly accurate account of her murder or the timeline for when it happened, but he was convicted of her murder. At his sentencing, he said, quote, "The words 'I'm sorry' will never come out, for they would be a lie. I am more than willing to give up my life for what I have done, to have God judge me and send me to hell for eternity." He said he killed because he simply enjoyed it. So Joe Metheny was found dead in his cell on August 5th, 2017, at the age of 62. And because this was such a short and sweet story, y'all know I couldn't just leave you there. So I did a little deeper dive into the history and some fun facts about cannibalism.
No. Yay.
Right?
Yes.
Fun. Quote, "When Columbus first arrived in the New World, he described the indigenous people as friendly and causing no problems. He'd been told by Queen Isabella to treat these people with respect and kindness, except if it became clear that they were cannibals, in which case all bets were off. Initially, the Spanish were looking for gold, and when they didn't find it, they figured that the next best thing was slaves." The quote continues, "Lo and behold, when Columbus came back, the indigenous people who had previously been classified as friendly were suddenly described as cannibals, so you could do anything to them. You could enslave them, take their land, murder them, and treat them like pestilence. And that's exactly what happened, with the result that a lot of the islands were depopulated. The idea of cannibalism as taboo was used to dehumanize the people encountered on these conquests. So the name cannibal originally came from the name the Spanish colonizers gave to the Caribs, who are an indigenous people of the Lesser Antilles of the Caribbean, even though they weren't cannibals at all."
Cool. That's so fucking good.
So the term originated through colonization, Spanish colonization. Of course it did.
Of course it did.
So humans are generally hardwired against eating other humans because it can cause kuru, which is a brain disease similar to mad cow disease. I think it can also cause mad cow disease. Mm-hmm. And it causes trembling to start and eventually leads to death in all cases. So you will die if you get kuru. The Fore or Foray people in Papua New Guinea have been practicing cannibalism for centuries as they eat the bodies of their relatives to cleanse their spirits, and they have slowly developed a genetic mutation that protects them from kuru, so it's less dangerous for them to consume human flesh. They have phased out the practice since the 50s, so new social norms, along with their resistance to kuru, has kept them from going extinct. So if you do it long enough, you guys...
It's cool. No big deal.
It's fine. Cannibalism is most often recorded as a survival tactic, both in evolutionary development in animals and emergency survival of humans, and has spread throughout entire countries in times of famine. So I read specifically, it's very common. Cannibalism is very common in the animal kingdom, more common than you would think. Mm-hmm. And like there's one type of toad that really prefers the eggs of that type of toad.
It's so strange, like
Isn't
really.
It?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I'm saying that, a squirrel is walking by with a locust in its mouth, and that's creepy.
At least it's not another squirrel's head.
Yeah. Well, and then I was reading about how evolutionary survival can result in cannibalism. Like there's a type of frog, and the tadpoles need to get out of the pool, like water pools that they're born into, and the climate of the area dries the pools out really quickly. And so some of the tadpoles have been born and they get really huge overnight with like extra strong jaws and like arms and legs, and so they can eat their brothers and sisters and get out of the pools faster.
Jesus.
No. It's fucked up.
No.
And one of the scariest things that I read in all of this, and I'm not done yet, but one of the scariest things I read was that climate change, there's a good chance that climate change will result in an increase in cannibalism in both the human and animal kingdoms.
Yeah,
so
of course
we have
it
that
will.
to look forward to. So, quote, during the Cultural Revolution, privately owned farms were collectivized. These techniques did not work, though, which resulted in a lot of people starving. Many people across China were reduced to incidents of what is known as, quote, starvation cannibalism, similar to the Donner Party. Families were often reduced to trading their children for the children of their neighbors so they wouldn't wind up killing and eating their own kids.
Oh my God.
And, quote, as Timothy Snyder describes in his book Bloodlands, the 1933 Stalin-imposed famine in Ukraine was so severe that cannibalism became surprisingly prevalent. The state had to set up an anti-cannibalism squad, and hundreds of people were accused of eating their neighbors or, in some cases, their family members. And Bill Shute... Yeah, man. Anti-cannibalism squad.
Oh, God.
I don't want that job.
No.
And Bill Shute said when interviewed about his book, Cannibalism, A Perfectly Natural History, quote, in non-human cannibalism, the biggest surprise for me was how widespread it is across nature for all sorts of reasons other than stress or lack of food. That blew me away. Mm. With human cannibalism, what shocked me was how extensive medicinal cannibalism was in Europe for hundreds of years. Human body parts were used right up to the beginning of the 19th century. I know. I don't know if it's changed my view of my fellow human beings. I think if we didn't have these Western taboos, I wouldn't be surprised to see more cannibalism. We've certainly been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, under certain circumstances. If those circumstances were to arise again, I can't see why cannibalism wouldn't also happen again. Night-night. Good night, everyone. Nighty-night.
I'm not...
That's all. There you go. The world is fucking terrible. The world's fucking awful. Is the conclusion. And in conclusion,
this just turns me into a doomsday prepper.
Fucked. I know.
I'm gonna go dig my underground bunker for my canned goods to avoid the cannibal plague that's upon us.
Plague famine. I know.
Jesus Christ.
There's so much more too. I mean, you can read all about cannibals.
I could.
It's deep and dark, but sometimes there are unwilling cannibals, like in the case of Joe Metheny, that fucking lunatic Rob Zombie character, piece of shit, and his poor unidentified victims, which just makes me so sad and so sick. I mean, the identified victims, it's so sad and so sick and so vulnerable. And there's nothing written about them because it was the 90s and people didn't care. And, you know, it was one of those cases, too, where it was so sensational that anything you find is just about his size or their choice of occupation.
Yep.
You know? Yep. So
just get swept under the rug.
Big time. These are people who had addictions, which fuck tons of people do. Name somebody who doesn't have an addiction, right?
Yep.
Nobody. And if you don't have an addiction, you're addicted to not being addicted to things.
Yeah, totally.
In 100% of cases.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm ready to go get addicted to Botox for as frowny as my face had to be through that whole episode. Jeez.
The needle just breaks off on the creases and they're like, there's no coming back from this.
Yeah,
sorry,
like,
ma'am.
Why is your forehead made of wrinkled cement? Cannibals.
Yeah.
Cannibals. Can we talk about how cool Kathy Magaziner's name is?
I know.
The poor dear soul.
And what a badass Rita Kemper is.
Yes.
That guy was humongous. It's...
I'm going to look him up right now.
Oof. There's a character, Joseph Metheny, Metheny, Metheny.
Oh my God.
Right?
Like humongous. In all of the ways you can imagine.
Yes. Massive man. God. Like he could punch a hole through a wall of a trailer. Like he is an actual horror movie villain.
Yes.
You can't get away from him, and she fucking did, and that is so badass. Yep.
God, that's so scary.
Do you see that picture of him, which we will post on Instagram, of him with his, like, creepy teeth all bared?
I see the one of him, like, screaming with his arms
Yeah,
out.
that's the one. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yuck.
God. Oh, yeah, now I see it bigger now with his teeth. Ooh.
Oh, Joe, no.
Okay. Night-night.
What else is there to talk about after that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Names? I got so many names this week, you guys. Yes. Oh, my God. Good lordy. I think you all just had a sense that you're going to need a big old decompression after today's story.
Seriously.
And you did not disappoint. I don't even know if I can get through all these names, but I'll do my best. I will stretch, drink some water, eat some trail mix to keep my energy up as I get through this list. So, June Renew. That name is so good for so many reasons. It's like a tiny poem. Yeah. June Renew. Terry Marable Macon. Another tiny poem. It's like a Edward Scary, or what's his name? Edward Scary? Richard Scary?
Richard Scary, the author?
Yeah.
The children's author? Yeah.
Yes. Doesn't that sound like a character from one of his
Totally.
books? Terry Marable Macon. Such a good name.
So good.
Virginia Pickle. Yep. Yep.
Okay. I think it's just official that it's the food ones that I love the most.
Yep. The cutest and the funniest. Although Terry Marable Macon. That name, you feel like it's taking you in one direction, and then it takes you in a different direction, and then it takes you back into a different direction. Terry Marable Macon. What is she making? Terry Marable? Terrible? Mary? Anyway. The weekly dick name is Richard Dick Johnson. Somebody went to a rodeo, and there was a preteen bronco rider named Brummy Bogus.
God.
It's preteen,
like perfect
Bronco
rider name.
Brummy Bogus.
Brummy.
God.
Brummy.
I would have screamed when I heard that. I hope you did, listener. I hope you screamed bloody murder. But like, that's such a good name.
Brummy.
Brummy Bogus.
Is that short for something? Like Brummel? Like
Brummage? Yeah.
Brummeling?
Brummage. Mike Literist?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Get it, guys? Get it? Mike Literist? Get it? Mm-hmm. Chappie Lestrange.
Whoa. We're back in the Richard Scary book now.
Exactly. Terry Marable Macon is hanging out with Chappie Lestrange, and they're getting up to mischief. June Renew, and they're getting up to much mischief. Peggy Dainty.
Oh.
And the listener writes, but wait, it gets better. Her mother's name is Candy Dainty.
Stop.
Yes.
Peggy and Candy Dainty.
Peggy and Candy Dainty.
Oh my God.
How do you live with yourselves, people?
You don't.
Okay, here you go. Thomas. WTF, parents.
Seriously.
Mr. and Mrs. Thomas, unless you're raised by gay parents. Thomas.
Maybe he was adopted into the Thomas family.
You always give them the benefit of the doubt. You did that with Michael too.
I know, I can't help but think like that can't be on for the real deal.
It can be for the real deal. Thomas. I see, and if I had children, they would end up with a name like Thomas. You know?
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah,
100%.
you would. Yes.
I named my dog Laserbeam, and then had to live with it for 13 years, like get professional jobs and things with a dog named Laserbeam. I also have a giant fucking cobra tattooed on my chest. Giant. These are the things that I do, thinking they're a good idea, kind of because it's funny, and then have to live with for the rest of my life. So I would have a Thomas. And I would have to be in my 40s and 50s and tell people that my child's name was Thomas. because I thought it was pretty funny. Casey Wiener.
Oh, poor Casey.
Somebody went to school with a Michael Bolton. Yeah, yes. God. I know a lot of Michael Jacksons. I've met at least like 3 or 4 Michael Jacksons over the years, but Michael Bolton?
That's amazing.
Oh my God. Like, what are the chances? Like, you have a child, you name it Michael Bolton, and then like 1 year later, I'm sure Michael Bolton got famous. You know?
Totally.
Oh, and this person said that their boyfriend insisted naming their dog Shark Attack, so I'm not alone.
That's so cute.
It's so cute. See, I would do that. And every time we get a dog, I want to name it like Dollop or Smudge or something. And Laura's like, no, I just got to name it Bill. Which also makes me laugh every damn time.
Or Shark Attack.
Shark Attack.
Oh, God. Well, our good pal, Maisie. Hey, Maisie. Got a new dog, and she asked for names. Did you see that? Somebody suggested MapQuest.
Yes, which I said I fully endorsed.
I did too.
Fully endorsed MapQuest.
Well, then I asked her if it was our other friend Megan's idea, and she said no. But it was very Megan.
That is a very Megan name.
Yeah. MapQuest.
So good. MapQuest. Kudos.
So if anybody wants that out there, I don't think Maisie chose it.
No. Well, and the other funny thing was that our mutual friend later, like, showed up. She didn't live here. Showed up to visit, and was like, "Oh my God, you guys! I came up with the best name for a dog," not knowing what my dog's name was. She's like, "Laserbeam."
What?
Yes, Stephanie.
Wow.
Yes,
that's so funny.
Isn't that so funny? Landscaping company in this person's town is called Lawn and Order. I love when things are one letter off too, like the name Gerald or something, or Jerem funny. Without the Y. You know, like when names are just slightly off. Lawn and Order is brilliant. There's a town called Bat Cave, North Carolina. Scraw!
Yes.
Oh, and then Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, which I have heard of, and that is, it's also where the Toy Box Killer is from. But that is a great name. Why didn't more people come up with fucking badass names like Shark Attack, Indiana?
I don't know.
Drug and alcohol abuse, like, and that's all, you guys. Oh, Balsover. I think these are Canadian names. I don't always write down the origin because it's too much to keep track of. But Balsover and Kinmount. It's like Schitt's Creek. Oh my God.
We love
Thank
that.
you guys.
Thank you so much.
Seriously. Okay, do we have any shout-em-ins?
We actually have a lot of them.
Yay!
No, you guys, we are, I think, right now we're 2 people away from 200.
Oh my God, get over there and round it out. We should do something for our 200 party.
That's what I was thinking. Do another meetup. Virtual.
I was just thinking,
Or no, you were thinking giveaway?
No, meetup. I was just thinking how much fun that was. Yeah.
It was so fun.
And maybe also a monetary giveaway, because that was fun too. Yeah.
And remember how we were like, maybe in September we can do a live, like, in-person meet. And like, no, we can't do that anymore. You guys not happy about it.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another day.
No doubt about it.
So mad. But we can totally do a virtual hangout, and it was so much fun. So let's put it in the works. We promised like a brunch time for our overseas listeners, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So 2 away. You guys make it happen, then we will make it happen back.
Yep. Deal. Guaranteed.
Okay. Thank you so much to Anna P.
Anna Piranha. Here she comes. You're in a lake, because it's a lake piranha. And you're dangling your little tootsies in there, and you feel a little nip. And you're like, oh, that's cute. And then you feel a nibble. And then the next thing you know, she eats you. She fucking devours you. Because she has power teeth.
Fuck yeah.
But you like it. Anna Piranha. To look out. Coming summer 2022.
We should just throw this next one in the
lake.
What's it called? The school of piranhas.
Yes.
Andrea P. Thank you so much to Andrea P.
Andrea Panther. She's a panther. She's coming around the jungle, and you're an unsuspecting person lounging in a hammock, and she eats you, and she bites you, and she devours you because she's Amanda Panther.
Yes. Thank you
Coming summer 2022.
Thank you so much to Corinne R.
I love the name Corinne. Corinne. She's also in the jungle. She's a mix of a tiger and a winged bird with a long beak. It's just called a rar. And she bits you and she bites you and she devours you. Coming summer 2022.
So thank you so much to April Kelly.
Okay, yep.
I had to do it. And if you don't like it, tell us and we'll take it out.
I remember seeing that one come through and thinking, there is no messing with perfection. And that goes with every... I don't know why grammar is out of my life these days. There's no messing with perfection. She is perfection. Her name is perfection. Welcome to perfection.
Welcome. You have found your home.
Population, only that, her. I almost said that person, because maybe that person is not a her. So yes, that person.
That person. Thank you so much to Camilla H.
Camilla, okay, a queen, a duchess, a royalty is in our midst.
Yes.
Maybe she's the overseer of all the fucking jungle where all my piranhas and my panthers and my rars live. Most likely.
Definitely.
But not like a ruler of them because they're all on the same level. It's an ecosystem where everyone lives copacetically, symbiotically, but she's good at it. She's good at being the princess, duchess, queen of
the jungle.
The jungle.
Thank you so much to Megan J.
Megan, just the facts. Just don't worry about it. Just them facts. I'm going to need them. I'm going to need them single typed, 1,600 words or less about why Megan fucking rules. Submitted, EOD. No one's going into overtime until I get them. That doesn't make sense, but you better do what I say.
You better make it make sense.
Yep.
Thank you so much to Yasina.
Oh God, I love that name.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that's one of my all-time favorite names.
It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful. And also, now that I'm thinking of it, that's probably our Instagram follower who's also just a lovely, hilarious person who claims that we're sisters from other misters, and I'm going to go ahead and confirm that claim. Welcome to the family. Thank you for taking time out from co-ruling the jungle to be a part of our family.
Last but not least, a big shout out to a huge supporter on that top tier. You guys are crazy.
Yeah.
You ready for a sonnet?
Fuck yeah, it's sonnet time. Okay.
Thank you so much to Rena J.
Rena J. On the time, on the beat, on the night, going to, on the road, down to town. Here she goes. Rena J. In the pocket. Rena J. Doesn't shock it. Here she comes. She gets the goods. She gets them good, and they are good. Then she takes them to the wood, and then the rap turns into a sonnet for some reason. Rena J.
Yes. You two can have your own sonnet.
Yep. Just you take the goods, and they are good. Guaranteed.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, thank you guys
so
fucking much.
Yes. It's amazing. I can't believe it.
What a thrill. Yep.
What a thrill.
And it's a lot of work to do this. And I don't say that in a complaining way. I say that in a I want to only do this way.
Yes.
And you guys just inch us slightly closer every day to that goal of just doing this.
I know.
And God, that would rule.
I know.
So keep it up. And it also keeps us ad free. Eventually there might be a tipping point where we need to choose one or the other. And we have so many fucking Patreon supporters that we might not have to ever get ads. So keep it up, babies.
Yep.
That rules. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
And also, if you want to see a picture of John Metheny as a fucking character out of a Rob Zombie movie, come on over to Instagram.
No,
Facebook,
I would just say
Twitter.
unfollow us now before it hits because it's terrible.
Come on over at They Will Kill. You can go to our website, theywillkill.com. You can always email us at theywillkillpodcast@gmail.com.
Rate, review, subscribe, please.
Yes, God, we love it very much.
Yep. Thank you, AJ Bergantz, for our music. We had somebody ask us the other day, like, who plays the piano? AJ Bergantz does. He did it. He made the music happen. We sent him, just so to refresh people, we sent him like a little clip of something that we liked, and he was like, oh, okay. And then literally
48 hours later.
Yeah, he sent us the most perfect masterpiece in like multiple versions and was like, hey, do you like any of those? And we were like, fuck yes, we do.
And don't touch it because it's perfect.
No, he didn't. I mean, we didn't have to be like, oh, can you tweak this chord or whatever? Yeah. It was perfect.
Yeah, I was like, don't mix it down. Don't do anything else to it. It's absolutely perfect.
Yep.
And our buddy Joe did the, what's it called it?
Oh, the viewer discretion. Yep.
Viewer discretion, yeah.
Yep. Ryan's best friend, my husband's best friend, Joe. Ryan tried and didn't let me listen. He said it was too awkward. So then he had Joe do it and it was great.
Yep. So thanks, Joe, for for being the creep at the beginning, warning people to not listen to our show.
He's a total creep in real life.
Nailed it.
Love you, Joe.
Love you, Joe.
What else?
And remember, I'll go throw it at you. And remember.
You guys, can we just please stop it with the COVID stuff? Please put a mask on your face. Get a vaccine. And then
wind it down.
Just please, can we please do it? It is stressing me out. My kids are in school for the first time, and it sucks. And it's really good because I really like it, but it's really hard on me. So could we please, just take care of each other.
Tired of crying. Wrap it up. Let's wind it down. Did you see that thing I posted on Instagram today that was that it took 100 years to get rid of cholera because people wouldn't stop drinking
poop water,
diarrhea water. They just wouldn't stop doing it.
I know. That's how I feel. Like you can. We know what to do. We just have to do it, and then it will be over, and then we can go, and I can stop crying.
Yeah. We love you. Be safe. Be healthy. Be kind. Be compassionate. Reduce suffering whenever possible. And we love you. And we'll see you. And goodbye.
See you another time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.